This is Kerry Shamblin with Planetary Influence for July 2022. First, a summary in plain English. The sun represents our collective soul, leaders, government, heart, individual agenda, and is fiery in nature. For the first half of July, the sun travels through Gemini, which can bring a slate of rapid changes and a demanding schedule, which could lead to exhaustion because the sun is very strong during the early summer months. We feel as if we can keep going and see everything there is to see by imbibing the abundant sunlight alone. The latter half of July has the sun moving into Cancer, which could lead us into necessary self-care or withdrawal from frantic activities that have been draining our energy. The sun in Cancer can make us feel resentful if we are forced to serve as caretaker to others because we feel drained from too much activity. Make plans for more relaxation, family time, and waterside fun during July. The moon rules our emotions, mental fluctuations, mothers, caregiving, devotion, nutrition, and is watery in nature. Early in July, the moon waxes, growing stronger and becoming full in Sagittarius on July 13th. When the moon is full, our mental activity and emotional responses can become difficult to control, while our physical energy feels ample. Beware of over-speculation from July 11th to 13th. Late in July, the moon wanes and moves past the other planets, which could leave us feeling vulnerable, sensitive, and anxious. With the sun in Cancer concurrently, this re-emphasizes the advice to schedule enough calm time for rest and rejuvenation. On July 28th, the moon joins the sun in Cancer for the new moon. Some other influences could feel like attacks that inspire retreating into a safe space. Mars is our planet that represents power, strategy, protection, alchemy, courage, strength, and is associated with the elements of fire and water. Mars's influence during July could be hard to handle. Mars will move through Aries, which makes him very powerful, hot, and potentially aggressive. With good planning, this energy could be used to achieve great work. The unstable and amplifying energy of Rahu, which will enhance Mars's firepower this month, could manifest as sudden disruptions to ongoing operations. While it is difficult to plan for unforeseen circumstances, it is possible to be ready for anything. Don't allow frustration at unwanted change to overtake your faculties of logic. We will need all of the problem-solving magic we can get in July. Balance this very hot placement of Mars with cooling and calming activities that also create a channel for letting off physical, mental, and emotional steam. Mercury represents communication, currency, intelligence, analysis, local travel, and markets. It's associated with the earth and the air elements. The winged sandal image we have of Mercury holds true this month, as Mercury dashes through two signs, his own sign of Gemini for the first half of July, and into Cancer for the latter half. This means that our messenger is walking hand in hand with the sun for the entire month, which gives us an opportunity to really express what we are thinking and feeling on a heart and soul level. With the speed of Mercury, we may feel like packing in too much activity, and we may overestimate our energy reserves. Plan for a light work schedule during the latter half of July, which supports organizing, getting in touch with friends, and catching up on small tasks, communications, repairs, and projects at home. Jupiter is associated with growth, expansion, positivity, children, education, divinity, and abundance. We associate Jupiter with fire, water, and space. We are enjoying the positive and expansive vibes of Jupiter as he sails through the universal ocean of Pisces. All of the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, are boosted by this transit through April 2023. Jupiter helps us to hold space through the challenging transitions, and he reminds us to fall back on our connection with nature and divinity to buoy us through loss, frustration, and difficulty. At the end of July, Jupiter begins a retrograde period that extends through November, and which may suppress some of the positive support we expect from Jupiter. What might have felt like joyful forward progress could suffer a temporary period of slow growth. This could also manifest as reversals of travel plans, educational courses, or financial reserves through the autumn. Venus rules relationships, business, politics, entertainment, love, beauty, creativity, and is associated with the elements of earth, air, and water. Along with the Sun King and Messenger Mercury, Diplomat Venus also changes signs in mid-July, from Taurus to Gemini. This puts graceful Venus in good dignity all month, supporting our creative efforts in the fine arts, politics, business, and communications. Tap into the inspiration of Venus to make connections, nurture relationships, enjoy the fruits of the earth with friends and family, and plant seeds for future collaborations. The first half of July could have us feeling a bit stuck in the mud with our liaisons. As Venus moves to Gemini on July 13th, we could feel ourselves rolling more quickly into the flow of projects, business ventures, and partnerships. July is a great month to celebrate, sing, dance, gather, and create new forms inspired by the beauty of nature and the connections we find with others. Saturn rules limitation, contraction, illness, suffering, karma, time, age, slowness, and coldness. Saturn is associated with the earth and air elements. Saturn's influence tends to bring obstruction and slowing, but we can leverage the current reverse energy of retrograde motion to move things a bit more quickly. This could also feel like things are slipping too far back, and that important forward progress has been lost. Rather than fighting against what has been lost, regain footing and readjust the strategy for reclaiming the summit. Joining in the mid-month shift plan, retrograde Saturn also makes changes on July 12th by returning to Capricorn through January of 2023. This could feel like being thrown back to the foundation you thought was solid and set. This transition supports your attempt to reclaim the top. Evidently, there are more adjustments to be made before we build our towers. Surrender to this and find the joy in retracing steps that could lead to even firmer foundations. Rahu is the north node of the moon and represents humanity, instability, addiction, innovation, internationalism, diversity, and opportunity. Rahu is associated with the air element. Rahu does not change signs in July, but continues to fan the flames of all the fire signs. This could result in sudden flare-ups, especially with fiery Mars adding to Rahu's unpredictable energy. Remember that your desires are your responsibility, and the consequences of actions made in haste or without thought are nonetheless yours to manage. Plan for the unexpected by keeping strategies flexible. Be ready for pivoting out of the hot seat and having multiple exit strategies. We could experience extremely passionate debate around resources, individual rights, and religious beliefs through mid-August, with Mars and Rahu combined. Ketu, the south node of the moon, is connected with followers, the army, spirituality, intuition, mistakes, blindness, obstruction, and is associated with the fire element. The eclipsing energy of Ketu can create a vacuum effect that leaves us feeling empty or blocked where he sits, which is currently in Venus's sign of Libra. Libra is the sign of social justice and responsibility, where we attempt to create a culture in which we can explore idealistic themes. The obstruction of social progress is a theme at this time, with blind faith overcoming cultural innovation. At mid-month, Saturn's move will compound the sense of progress being stymied by conservative ideals and backward thinking. Examine how this may be manifesting in your life and lean into what internal fears and rooted habits may be obstructing your growth. Internal work is needed before we can join forces with others. For an in-depth analysis of specific planetary placements, please continue listening to the full planetary forecast. Mars and Rahu will be in Aries from June 26th through August 10th. At the end of June, we have a couple of notable shifts that set things up for the first half of July. Mars crosses into his own fire sign of Aries on June 26th, and the new moon in Gemini, Ardra, occurs on June 28th. Both of these parting shots of June have the signature of Rahu and invite us to adjust to the potentially volatile transit of Mars through Aries. Mars will certainly be activated during this transit, empowering us to take initiative and action, especially in the face of situations that are difficult to predict or control. The aspects of Mars extend this forceful and calculated energy of Mars into the signs of Cancer, Libra, and Scorpio, in addition to Aries. This could be an intense transit for the sign of Cancer, as it is vulnerable to Mars's hot gaze. But a beneficial aspect is being cast by Jupiter from Pisces, which makes a nice balance of courage and faith flowing into the moon's water sign. When retrograde Saturn moves out of Aquarius and back to Capricorn on July 12th, this could be a game changer, as the pressure and structure of Saturn through his aspect to Aries, while he has been in Aquarius, lifts from the incendiary combination of Rahu and Mars. After this, Aries and its current inhabitants will no longer be under Saturn's influence, nor will it be positively guided by Jupiter. That leaves it up to us to make sure we channel our Mars energy in a safe and productive direction. From June 26th to July 16th, Mars moves through the sector of Aries that is also the nakshatra Ashwini, the first nakshatra. Ashwini is ruled by the planet Ketu and by the Ashwin Kumars, the magical healing pair of twin horsemen. Ketu's current transit is in Libra, which is one of the signs affected by Mars at this time. With Mars and Ketu energy high during the first half of July, we may find ourselves faced with obstacles that require deep and thorough commitment to making lasting changes in order to keep ourselves aligned with our soul purpose. This is a white-hot situation to which we must collectively pay attention. Avoidance is not an option. Now is the time to push the train onto the tracks and get back to work. There is potential for fire, which can be used in a remarkably productive manner if done with care. Mercury transits Gemini from July 2nd through the 16th. Mercury is coasting quickly through the first signs of the zodiac, leaving behind his friend Venus in Taurus on July 2nd for a rapid transit through his own sign of Gemini. Mercury in Gemini will be fantastic for communication projects, networking, short journeys, and educational pursuits. In addition to this brief but great dignity of Mercury, the period of July 2nd to the 12th is quite special due to the fact that we will have a beautiful Graha Malaka, a garland of planets, all occupying their own signs. Starting with Saturn in Aquarius, we move to Jupiter in Pisces, Mars in Aries, Venus in Taurus, and then Mercury in Gemini. On July 2nd only, the garland is one bead longer, with the moon placed in Cancer. On July 12th, Saturn moves back to Aquarius, breaking the chain, and on July 13th, Venus moves to Gemini. This lovely parade of planets supports getting things moving and keeping them rolling, especially on the surface of things. Even the retrograde energy of Saturn adds to this energy, as we may find his effects a bit quicker and lighter, even though some deep adjustments may be required. Mercury is gaining speed and will catch up to the Sun as July comes to a close. The pair will move together from Gemini to Cancer on July 16th. Combustion of planets occurs when they share space with the Sun, making it difficult to distinguish the planets' specific effects as they are lost in the heat and light of the Sun. Mercury moves quickly and often comes into a state of combustion due to his status as the first stone from the Sun. Use this time to focus and compensate by slowing down and staying grounded. Retrograde Saturn returns to Capricorn July 12th. Our Saturn in Aquarius preview comes to a close on July 12th, when retrograde Saturn sinks back into his Earth sign, Capricorn. The retrograde motion continues until October 22nd, when Saturn stations direct at 25 degrees Capricorn. Regaining forward motion, Saturn retraces the final degrees of Capricorn and re-enters Aquarius on January 16th, 2023, for the remainder of his transit there through March 2025. Saturn first entered Capricorn in January of 2020 and plodded up the proverbial steep and rocky trail through late April 2022. This last bit of Capricorn work will run from July 12, 2022 to January 16, 2023, and may bring us back to the deeper themes that were established during 2020 and 2021. What we faced during that period may resurface, asking again for adjustments to foundational elements. Another factor of this return to Capricorn is the reestablishment of Saturn's aspect on Pisces, Cancer, and Libra. This can manifest as a sense of pressure, responsibility, or limitation in these signs. Saturn demands a slow pace and deliberate action. This could be lessened by retrograde motion, which could point to editing and reorganizing, as opposed to digging into entirely new beginnings. The sign of Pisces is currently graced by Jupiter, whose penchant for growth may be curbed by Saturn's reclaimed position in Capricorn. When Jupiter enters a retrograde period on July 28th, we may feel sharply that our recent forward progress is suddenly retarded by practical considerations. The sign of Cancer will be receiving a trio of aspects through mid-August, which could point to building a new avenue that straddles the natural flow of growth and decay. Jupiter from Pisces boosts Cancer. Saturn from Capricorn restricts the flow, and Mars from Aries pushes the desire for resources and protection. In individual horoscopes, the role of Cancer could be highlighted between mid-July and mid-August. Libra also gets the structured gaze of Saturn on top of the already tight squeeze of Ketu, combined with the fire of Mars through mid-August. While this idea realm isn't set up for heavy construction projects, Libra's indications could be worked with during this time. Social justice, relationships, business, and politics may be strongly stirred by Mars, Rahu, and Saturn, all affecting Libra from mid-July through mid-August. Venus transits Gemini from July 13th through August 6th. Both Venus and Mercury tend to be active, enthusiastic, and social, with agendas involving connection, communication, and exchange. With Venus moving from stable Taurus to speedy Gemini, we may find ourselves involved with social activities and creative collaborations while Venus breezes through Mercury's air sign from July 13th through August 6th. Although there are other spots of intensity going on during this time, such as Mars and Rahu combination in Aries, this transit of Venus through Gemini is rather protected. With neither beneficial nor challenging aspects coming at Venus during this few weeks, it may be a good time to really play with creative pursuits, including art, writing, and music. Carve out time for journaling, socializing, enjoying nature, learning new skills, and creating freely. Venus, as Lord of Relationships, may benefit from the objective and analytical environment of Gemini, because Mercury's influence grants both perspective and detachment. This could be helpful as we create relational harmony. Full moon in Sagittarius, Uttarashada, July 13th. Just after Venus moves into Gemini on July 13th, the moon moves into exact opposition with the sun, granting us our monthly full moon. The sun at 28 degrees Gemini is blazing with combust Mercury, while the moon is catching that light and reflecting it 100% at 28 degrees Sagittarius. Each year, when the moon is full in Jupiter's fire sign of Sagittarius, we also celebrate Guru Purnima, the full moon, where we honor our teachers and guides. This zone of Sagittarius is designated as Uttarashada, a nakshatra ruled by the sun and by the Vishwadevas, who represent collective divinity. This is a good time to connect with what feels divine, whether nature, spiritual practices, or religious community. With a number of changes happening in mid-July, this full moon could feel like the culmination of a rather active and mobile period. When the planets begin to shift out of Gemini and into Cancer, we may reorient toward home, rest, and rejuvenation. Sun in Cancer, July 16th through August 16th. The sun moves from Mercury's air sign Gemini to the moon's water sign Cancer on July 16th for his 1-month promenade. These two mentally oriented signs highlight the differences between how we express and experience our intelligence in Gemini and our feelings in Cancer. As mentioned above, during this transit of the Sun and Mercury, Cancer will be receiving strong aspects from 3 planets who each are in good dignity in their own sign. Mars from Aries, Jupiter from Pisces, and Saturn from Capricorn will all be gazing into the calm pool of Cancer. Without aspects, what we may expect from the Sun in Cancer is wholesome, as the Moon and Sun are more than friends and focused strongly on maintaining the light of creation. This transit is supportive of spending time with family and friends, sharing food and time, and enjoying the fruits of life. With both Jupiter and Saturn aspecting Cancer, we get balance between growth and limitation, faith and practicality, or joy and sorrow. Jupiter and Saturn add a level of both depth and breadth to the Cancer experiences we have as the Sun transits there. Mars adds passion, fire, and power to the mix, which could result in situations that test patience or aggravate egos. Saturn and Jupiter will remind you to remember the big picture and the long-term goals in the face of minor and temporary agitation. Mercury transits Cancer from July 16th through July 31st. Cruising into Cancer under the blazing cover of the Sun, Mercury leaves behind his own sign of Gemini and plunges into the pool for a very rapid swim from July 16th to July 31st, when Mercury presses on into Leo. After having such a nice bath in the Moon's water sign and a strong scrubbing with the Sun's summer light, Mercury picks up speed and puts some space between himself and the Sun, which will make him the new leader of the planetary progression until his next retrograde cycle in Virgo in September. In Cancer, Mercury receives the same guidance from Jupiter, the same pressure from Saturn, and the same push from Mars. Take this 2 weeks to really slow down and chill. Rather than bemoaning slow progress or delays, it may be wise to surrender to a slower pace. This will give some extra time to think through the whys and hows, gather needed resources, rest and reorient for the new adventures. New moon in Cancer, Pushya, July 28th. The focus on Cancer deepens as July comes to a close, with the moon joining the Sun at 12 degrees in the nakshatra of Pushya. Joining in this energy will be Jupiter from Pisces, aspecting this new moon closely by degree as he slows down and begins a retrograde cycle just after the moon begins to wax. Just as there were a slew of shifts during the last week of June, the last few days of July could feel as if we've reached a very low tide. This could feel like an energetic low, both physically and mentally. But with the waterline retreating, we can see what is hidden beneath the surface of our emotional experience. The aspects coming from Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn to Cancer and any planets therein are emphasizing the combination of structure, freedom, and power as we feather our nests and adjust to the new paradigms that have emerged from an eventful 3 years. With Jupiter joining Saturn in retrograde motion at this time, the directive is to turn inward when attempting to find a balance between practical reality and pursuit of happiness. Pushya Nakshatra is ruled by Saturn, currently retrograde in Capricorn and casting a loose aspect upon the Sun and Moon as they conjoin. Pushya is contained completely within the Moon's watery sign of Cancer, but is also under the structured restraint of Saturn as its lord. This combination of Moon and Saturn tells the sweet story of life, where we must love with all of our hearts, knowing that it always ends. This is a good time to recognize those that are always supportive to you and pay it forward when you see another in need. Jupiter retrograde in Pisces from July 28th through November 23rd. Retrograde motion is difficult to interpret. On a physical level, the planet may be ever so slightly more near to the Earth, and we could argue that the planet's effects may be more strongly felt. Retrograde motion of planets is part of the illusion that is so easy to buy, that the Earth is the center of things, apparently. This theme of illusion could be applied to retrograde behavior, which only compounds the difficulty in interpretation. Retrograde motion also calls forth the idea of moving in reverse, which is natural to the nodal axis Rahu and Ketu, the eclipsers. This concept of reversals can come up with retrograde planets, and because of the nodal axis involvement, we could see the planet inspiring strong desires for its agenda, while at the same time reversing its usual methodology. What might this look like, applied to Jupiter taking a reverse direction? At least from our point of view, from July 28th through November 23rd. Jupiter's desire for growth, positivity, wisdom, and faith could become even stronger during this period. With Jupiter's placement in Pisces, which gives him magnificent dignity, this could be notable for many through November. Another way of applying a retrograde signature is to think of reversing outer expression by recognizing the need to understand what may have been manifesting externally in an integrated and internal way. For example, if Jupiter in Pisces since April has triggered changes that are propelling you into new situations, like moving homes, changing jobs, or starting school, you might have had to make physical adjustments such as packing and moving, applying to schools, etc. With Jupiter entering retrograde phase until November, as you act out the plans and changes on the physical level, you will also be tasked with the internal adjustments that require you to dig deep and flex those wisdom muscles.